a 90-day restriction on people travelling into the United States of America whilst they work out their vetting policy. But there are some fundamental differences between the order that he signed a few weeks ago that, remember, led to protests not very far from this studio, led to, in many other British cities, led to international outrage and led to the American judiciary striking it down. So he's come back, but there are some fundamental differences. And just take these on board, please. This new order does not suspend immigrants coming in from Iraq at all. There is no indefinite ban on Syrian refugees. Current visa holders will not be affected in any way at all. And refugees that have already been given asylum and granted that will be allowed, and this will not be phased in until the middle end of next week. But what he is doing is he's saying that citizens of Iran, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen will once more be subjected to a 90-day restriction on travelling to the United States of America. So Trump put it forward, he had it rejected, but he's brought it back with amendments. And my question to you is Donald Trump right to stick to his guns? And my view is that he absolutely is, and he showed he's capable of listening. You know, he could have gone through the courts and dragged this out for weeks or months, but no, he's listened, he's come back with something that he thinks is sensible. He hasn't even fronted it himself. He's let Rex Tillerson, his Secretary of State, take the lead. Is he right to stick to his guns? I really think that he is, and I'm going to ask you, what's not to like about this? Surely, isn't it the duty of a government to put things in place that are legal and protect your own citizens? And I'm very interested to hear. I mean, maybe you're so outraged by this one that you'll be protesting in Whitehall tomorrow. I don't know. I wonder. Amy in Hove, what do you think, Amy, about Trump coming back and signing another executive order?
Well, Nigel, it couldn't come a moment too soon. I absolutely am infuriated with all of these do-good liberal, snowflake, lefty nutcases who seem to be in complete denial that there's any type of problem in the world with terrorism. I mean, it's beyond me. And the fact that President Trump has been forced to reissue this thing, which, again, you know, there's going to be people screaming and crying and all the rest of it. It just infuriates me.
Well, I wonder, Amy, this time round, what is it they can scream and cry about?
Do you know, Nigel, at this point they can think of anything. They don't need a valid excuse. These people don't have common sense, and unfortunately they have the loudest voices and tend to be not very civil when they say what they don't like. And one thing I'd like to know, Nigel, thanks that I get a chance to speak to, is when are the European leaders going to show some sense of responsibility to its citizens and stop this massive flood of people coming across the Mediterranean? Well,
Amy, I was involved in this right at the very start when President Juncker of the European Commission put in place the EU's common asylum policy, and I spoke on that very day. I said the problem was they broadened the definition of who a refugee is to virtually anybody. In fact, Mr. Juncker said if you come from a poor country, you possibly would qualify for refugee status. So I've been fighting them on this, Amy, absolutely from the word go. I was mortified when Chancellor Merkel said, you know, as many of you as you can come, we can cope with. I think they've made some terrible mistakes. Right now, they do have a deal with Turkey. They're giving Turkey money. The flow of people has slowed, but it's still 2,000 or 3,000 people a week that are coming into Greece or Italy. So the answer is they still, in Europe, have not genuinely confronted this.
But when is it going to happen? Because, I mean, I just saw that 1,500 people came in over the weekend. And, I mean, the poor people in Italy and Greece are absolutely overrun. There's riots going on in Paris. Look at Sweden. I mean, I just don't understand, Nigel, when the European leaders are going to start showing some sense of responsibility to their citizens who are victims.
Amy, I agree with you. I agree. And I will be at the European Summit on Thursday and Friday this week as a group leader in the European Parliament. And I'll be asking that question. You know, when are we going to get some sense of reality? When are you as leaders going to reconnect actually with your populations? Amy, I thank you for your call. Well, Amy, clearly thinks that Trump is right to do this and perhaps thinks that Europe and we should be doing this. Whichever way, whichever side of the argument you're on, please get involved with this debate. Trump has re-signed a new presidential order with amendments. Is he right to stick to his guns? To get involved, call me on 0345 60 60 973. Text me at 84850. You can tweet me on @LBC, not forgetting the hashtag Farage and LBC, and you can watch us live on LBC's Facebook page right now. And I'm going to ask Ahmed in Harrow. Ahmed, is Trump right to do what he's done?
I think so, totally not. It's not fair. I personally don't think, because I'm from East Africa myself, from Somalia.
Yep.
And I've been in this country for 27 years. I'm a dual citizen. I'm a British citizen. I'm a Somali citizen. And, for example, people like me are affected by this travel ban. And what is Donald Trump hasn't chosen those countries that he has personal interest in, like Saudi Arabia and UAE, where all the main terrorists come from.
So Ahmed, are you saying, Ahmed, that Trump really has been too liberal with this, and he should have had a lot more countries on the list? Is that what you're saying?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not fair that he targets weak countries that have weak economic powers. They have no influence on the UN, United Nations. They have no, you know what I'm saying? He chose the weakest countries, the weakest Muslim countries with low income. But he hasn't chosen those countries that he has personal interest in, like, for example, investments. He's got personal investments in those other countries that he didn't put in the list. And I don't find that usually fair.
I'm sure, Ahmed, you know, your point about including Saudi Arabia, I think that would get massive support from LBC callers, listeners, texters, tweeters, Facebookers, and I'm sure it would in the United States of America too. But tell me, I mean, Ahmed, when you came to this country 27 years ago, I mean, Islamic terrorism didn't really exist, did it?
Yeah, it didn't really exist. And Nigel Farage, to be honest, I've never spoken to you personally, but I'm a big fan of yours, because I've watched a couple of videos of yours on YouTube where you talked about Somaliland and when you went to Europe and you were advocating for Somaliland to be recognized.
Yes, I have been. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I've seen the videos. I'm a big fan of yours, and I was a big fan of UKIP. But I think he's kind of biased, you know, only including certain countries.
Right. So, Ahmed, I thank you very much for your comments. Yes, I am a supporter of the recognition of Somaliland, very much so. I always have been. I thank you for your call. Ahmed making the point that actually he's picked on weak countries, not on big, strong countries who probably pose an even greater threat. So Ahmed saying Trump should have gone further. I wonder what Jack in Nantwich makes of this. Is Trump right to stick to his guns and re-sign this order?
No, I don't think so.
Right, go on.
And I'm just going to sort of say that I sort of have an interest in this because half of my family have come from Iran. They came here many years ago and came and settled here. And how the border system worked before this, I don't know how it's changed now. I sort of know how the travel ban works, but how the system worked was they used to have a computerized system where, with the border, they would flag you up if you were born in a certain place, or you came from a certain place. So, how do you expect, with a system like that, which is so sort of automatic, that will bring you in for questioning? That's what happened to us when we visited.
Yeah,
we were. My dad was taken for questioning for about 45 minutes, just asked sort of general questions, sort of quite probing questions. How do you expect the vetting system to be improved if it's so random and arbitrary? How do you
Well, Jack. I mean, just bear in mind that actually all that Trump was doing with Order Number 1 and Order Number 2 is very much following up on what President Obama had done. It was Obama that had identified those 7 countries, had already arguably put in place some quite tough vetting. And all that Trump is asking for today, he's asking for 3 months where he examines whether what Obama has put in place is safe enough, and he's conceded that he doesn't think Iraq poses a direct terrorist threat. I mean, Jack, surely he's not being wholly unreasonable here, is he?
I would say a complete restriction is very unreasonable. We came and we went through the system. It was quite an arbitrary system, and they decided after 45 minutes, we were the last people in the airport, they decided that we pose no threat.
When was this, Jack?
And this was a couple of years ago. This was about 2010.
Okay. Well, Jack, listen, I'm not arguing that any of these systems are perfect, but what I am arguing, I think, is that there is a threat out there from extreme Islamic radicalism, and it is sensible for countries, surely, to make at least some provision to protect themselves.
I mean, absolutely. I'm not just saying we should.
No, sure.
But it was quite an arbitrary system, quite a system that just fired you up depending on where you were born.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, is that you can't just make. I'm improvising a bit here. You can't just make assumptions based on people, based on where they're from.
Jack, I get your call. You've been through this. You don't particularly like it. I understand that, but you do have to understand, Jack. And thank you for your call. You do have to understand. A lot of people are very, very concerned about this. I mean, Frank on Facebook says we should have the same sort of ban. We need to keep our own people safe. On text, Tina Lomax from St Albans says, "Hi Nigel, what on earth was wrong with the first travel restriction? Nothing. Evening Nigel, the Liberal elite need to wake up and smell the coffee. Trump is doing everything he has pledged to do. What is the problem with genuine democracy? They only like it if the wind blows their way." And that's from Tom. And I got a tweet here. Yes, Nigel, Trump is right. We should all follow his examples. So all of you that are texting, tweeting and Facebooking are agreeing that Trump was right to sign this today, are suggesting perhaps even the first travel restriction had an out wrong with it, and are saying the British government should do the same. There must be some of you out there that fundamentally disagree with this. Please get involved with this debate. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:15.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
The chronic shortage of affordable housing forcing cash-strapped councils to spend more than £2 million a day on temporary accommodation for homeless families. Dina's in Ealing. You're on the radio on this, Dina. Good morning.
Actually, since I moved to the country here, I've been living with my mother. She's disabled. And by the time I become pregnant, I found myself completely alone. I've been trying to get hold of the council. When I'm going to have my own place, it's quite scary when you have a baby and you don't know what to do.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
With Hampton by Hilton, making you welcome at over 40 hotels in Europe.
Westway, there's no other way.
Car buyers, April the 1st road tax increases are coming. Visit Westway Nissan before March the 31st and beat the taxman. We've some extra special new Nissan offers across the range, including deposit contributions of up to £5,000 and low-rate representative 5.99% APR finance. So you win twice. Hurry to find out how you can beat the taxman.
Google Westway Nissan today.
Divorce can be expensive. It affects your finances, assets, home, savings, pension, and most of all, your relationship with your children. It's probably one of the toughest times you'll ever go through. Cordell & Cordell understands these issues and helps men maximise their roles in their children's lives. Call now on 0330 60 60 161 or visit cordellcordell.co.uk. Office in central London. A partner men can count on.
Do you have a pension? Maybe you've got more than one. How do you know if they're in the right pension funds, making as much money as possible for your retirement? Answer is, you probably don't. At The Pension Works, our fully qualified independent financial advisors could add instant value to your retirement fund. Simply text the word YES to 83222 for your free Pension Works health check. That's YES to 83222 today. Your pensions working harder with the Pension Works.
Zingflowers.com. Fresh, hand-tied bouquets with easy online ordering.
Zing flowers are amazing every time.
This is the sound of someone breaking into your business. It's that simple. And once they're in your systems, they can do real damage. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for small businesses covers everything from extortion to data theft. Our team of IT specialists will recover lost data and prevent further damage wherever possible, so you can concentrate on connections in the real world. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for the small and the brave.
This is a live update for UK businesses. Every day, millions of consumers are shopping online for quality UK goods. And right now, some of the world's leading online marketplaces have reduced selling costs for UK businesses. To enjoy these exclusive discounts and to find the right online marketplace for you, search Exporting is Great.
This March, the world-famous Royal Albert Hall will play host to over 200 classical musicians with state-of-the-art lights, lasers and thundering fireworks finale to the 1812 Overture for Classical Spectacular, accompanied by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Experience Classical Spectacular at the Royal Albert Hall from the 16th to the 19th of March. Get your tickets now at lbc.co.uk.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So Trump won't be beaten by the naysayers, by the courts, by the street protesters. No, he signed another executive order restricting, not banning, restricting people coming into the USA for 90 days, but with some significant changes. Iraq is no longer on the list. There is no permanent ban now on refugees coming from Syria, and anybody with an existing visa can happily travel to the USA. And the whole thing comes in on the 16th of March, so there's no overnight chaos at the airports. And I'm asking you, what's not to like about this? I mean, all he's doing, he's revising Obama's policy. He's keeping his pledge to the American people that he would do his utmost to make America safer. And I wonder, will people be in uproar and out protesting? Because if they are, I hope those same people, and I remember last time round, Jeremy Corbyn condemning Trump, Tim Farron condemning Trump, Caroline Lucas condemning Trump, yet they didn't say a dicky bird, did they, about the 16 countries that ban Jewish Israelis from even going on holiday here. So perhaps Mr. Corbyn will now praise Trump for listening and amending his order. I don't know. A text I get in here from Scott, who says, of course, the same old faces will be out protesting tomorrow. If they went to work instead, their lives may improve. Just a thought, Scott, you bad person. If it isn't a ban, isn't that a betrayal of his campaign promise for a total and complete shutdown on Muslims entering the United States? There's no name on that. You're right. He did say, I, Donald J. Trump, am calling for a total and complete shutdown on Muslims entering America. He said it after one of the outrages in Europe. He did, within a couple of weeks, correct that and say he'd gone too far in the heat of the moment. And from that moment on, he's been talking about making America safer and not focusing this whole debate on religion, which I think would be quite a big mistake. Another text here. Hi, Nigel. Trump is right on this, but what happens after the 90 days? The wrong people could come in on the 91st day and thereafter. John from Cambridgeshire. John, of course, you know, you're right. There is no absolutely foolproof way of stopping bad people or stopping people who, once they've come, who may then, of course, be radicalised from coming to your country. But I tell you what, John, I'd feel a bit safer living in Trump's America than I would living in Merkel's Germany. And on Facebook, Paul says, I get vetted every time I go to the USA. I'm British and all my family live in the US. I don't have a problem with being vetted. Well, Paul, I go to the States quite a bit, and I have to say, they are pretty strict, aren't they, in getting you through immigration. And I happen to think we perhaps ought to be a bit more like that. I wonder what Alan in Fleet in Hampshire thinks of Trump signing this order and sticking to his guns.
Hello, Nigel.
Hello there.
I don't have a general problem with any country vetting people coming in. I think the only issue is it should be a level playing field.
Yep.
I think the problem, Trump is conflating Islamic terrorism with all people who potentially are from an Islamic background. You've got two different strands of Islamic terrorism. You've got the Shia-based Islamic terrorism, which is predominantly Hezbollah, Hamas, anti-Israel. You've got the Wahhabi, ISIS-based Islamic terrorism, which is predominantly against the West. Now, if Trump is really intending to make America safer, surely he should be including people who are funded and supported by the Wahhabi-based Saudis, Egyptians, Qataris, etc. He's making no mention of those. They are not included in this. So you would be forgiven for thinking, why is that? And the obvious answer to that point would be financial interest. He and other people have a financial interest in most countries. They have a financial bearing on America. He has not included them. For that reason, if he is truly wanting to make America safe, surely he should include those countries as well. Vet everybody from those countries. Those that then can come in. Everyone is happy.
So, Alan, he's not really going far enough, is he? And is it an act of cowardice not to include Saudi Arabia, or perhaps an act of greed? Which, in your opinion?
I think there are probably influences on America from that sort of money which would impact on American jobs. And if he's trying to present and do something to make America great again and find more financial influence and clout to get American jobs back, he needs Saudi on his side. And he's not going to do anything to impact on that. Now, it's not the Saudi government, it's certain individuals within the Saudi population.
So you're saying, Alan, that you're saying he's bent his principles because he thinks it's in America's financial interest to stay close to Saudi Arabia?
It's possibly in America's interest, definitely in his interest, but if anyone is injured in America from a Wahhabi-based attack, surely he then is open to accusations of he hasn't made America safe.
Alan, you make the point very well, and for those that don't know, Alan clearly does, Wahhabism is something that has been pushed by big Saudi Arabian money, and it's that's led, I mean, Alan, I'm right on this, aren't I? It's that's led to the burqa becoming as commonplace as it is.
The Wahhabi side is a lot more strict. The Iranian side is basically Shia-based.
Yes.
And finally, you've got the hardliners in charge who are a very bad influence in Iran. The bulk of the Iranian people are not as extreme as the Wahhabis. The Wahhabi side from the Sunni side is far worse, yet they are not being attacked by this as much as the Shia side. And I just don't see the logic in it. That is the bigger...
Alan, you make the point. You make the point with knowledge, and you make it beautifully. And I thank you very much indeed for that call. And your tweets coming in. Donald Trump is right over immigration. Theresa May should follow ASAP, says David Roberts. Those countries have poor, non-existent security vetting on people leaving their country, says Amy. Well, perhaps they want to get shot or some of them, I don't know. What is the problem with a 90-day ban? Britain needs to do the same, and the EU needs to actively turn the boats back, says Sam on Twitter. And Frank says on Facebook, in 2 years' time, the USA will be the best country to live in under Trump. Watch and wait. Well, Frank, my sense is I'd feel safer in Trump's America than Merkel's Germany. Absolutely. So lots of support for what Trump is doing. Alex in Enfield, are you one that thinks Trump is right, or that it won't serve the right purpose?
I don't think he's right or wrong. I think he doesn't understand international politics, Nigel. I mean, you say you're going to have a 90-day ban, and then what? Okay, so it's an old policy, really, this is.
Yes, it is. Alex, you're right, because Obama started this process. On that, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so basically, Donald Trump is calling for a total ban. The reason why that received the criticism that it did is because of what Trump was actually saying about banning Muslims, inverted commas, and you yourself have said that is not only was it impractical, but it was nonsensical.
I did, yes, I did.
It's not something that was ever going to work.
Yeah.
Now, the media has not helped in the sense that it keeps trying to assert that the ban was a Muslim ban, almost to give truth to Trump's original statement. So I don't think the media has helped in that context. I think the reporting has been childish and a bit naive.
But Alex, Alex, how does he make America safer? What's he got to do?
Not by doing that. I think what Trump misunderstands, and somebody in his position, I'm surprised about it, is he doesn't really understand tone. And when you're leading, it's all about tone and setting the right tone. You're not going to make America safe when you actually stimulate and stir up the elements that want to make America unsafe. And those elements aren't going to turn up during your 90-day ban. They will waffle through many months, many years after that ban. Look how far in the distance those people who went to train as pilots in America and eventually flew planes into the Twin Towers. Look how much patience they had. You know, people who commit these horrible crimes, Nigel, they're patient people. And that patience is an evil that's constantly brewing. And what you don't want to do, if you're a sensible leader, is to encourage younger people who might not be of that mindset into the fold of those individuals. And sadly, I think one of Trump's weaknesses is he's not setting the right tone that would help him make that promise more true.
Well, Alex, in terms of tone, you know, the Donald is the Donald. He does things his way. But I asked you this once before. I asked you one more time. If you were in Trump's position, you'd been elected, and you'd been elected saying that you would make America safer, what would you do?
I wouldn't stand on a ticket that made such a naive promise, because you know, what he's done is what Obama showed him is you have to have continuity. I don't think Obama liked what Bush did, but he didn't completely denounce the regime when he came in. You need continuity. That's why America has survived as long as it has as a democracy. So he's starting to learn that.
Yeah, well, I think, Alex, what he was trying to do was offer people hope, because people are scared, and they've seen what's happening in France, and they've seen what's happening in Germany, and they've seen what's happening in Brussels and Belgium. And, Alex, what they're saying is, we don't want it here. That's why they voted for him. I take your point. This is difficult. This is complex. There is no perfect solution, but he is trying to keep his promise with the American people, and that's the bit that I like. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:30, and time for the news with Rupert Bartier.
President Trump has signed a new executive order which prevents citizens from 6 countries from travelling to the United States. It's after a previous order was blocked by a federal court. Nationals from Yemen, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, Iran and Syria are all affected. The government says French firm PSA Group intends to safeguard Vauxhall's plants in Britain after buying the car maker for just under £2 billion. Unions say they're cautiously optimistic about the future of the 4,500 Vauxhall staff in the UK. And a zoo where nearly 500 animals died in less than 4 years has had an application for a new licence rejected. A recent inspection at South Lakes Safari in Cumbria uncovered poor management and what was described as shoddy enclosures. LBC weather. Any showers mostly clearing to leave a frosty night for many, a low of 3 Celsius. Tomorrow, rain moving eastwards through the day, a high of 11 degrees.
LBC Travel. Good evening, I'm Andy Lake. Well, just like last Friday, the traffic lights are out at the Wisley interchange where the A3 meets the M25, causing queues on all approaches to that junction there. The A3 solid heading into London, back to the West Clarendon turn-off. Also anti-clockwise delays on the M25, back to the M3 almost at junction 12. Elsewhere on the M25, it's heavy clockwise between junction 25 for the A10 at Enfield and 26 for Waltham Abbey after a breakdown earlier on. Farringdon Road looking slow southbound towards Farringdon Station, where a lorry has broken down. Traffic's taking it in turns to get past there. Delays approaching the London Stadium in Stratford tonight ahead of the West Ham-Chelsea match, which kicks off in around half an hour, especially on the North Circular southbound between the M11 and the Redbridge roundabout. In Buckinghamshire, the A41 Aston Clinton Road is crawling coming into Aylesbury because a water main's burst at New Road. Queues there are back to the Woodlands roundabout. And onto the rails now. Chiltern Railways have delays heading out of Marylebone via Wembley after a train broke down earlier on today. For more real-time traffic updates, go to lbc.co.uk.
This is LBC.
Whether you're saving up for a big anniversary or a coral reef diving holiday, the money you're putting aside is perfectly safe. Protected by the FSCS up to £85,000 should anything happen to your bank, building society or credit union. It's completely automatic, free of charge, and backed by government. In most cases, you'll get your money back within 7 days. You'll probably never need us, but it's good to know we're here. Search FSCS Protected for details.
Hey, London! Have you heard about WestJet's direct flights and low fares to Canada? Didn't think so. That's why I'm yelling from a mountaintop. And no regular mountaintop at that. Canada's spectacular Rocky Mountains. Direct flights and low fares make traveling to Canada easy. All you have to do is bring your breath. We'll bring what will take it away. WestJet, Canada's high-care, low-fare airline, climbing mountains to make Canada more inviting than ever. Book today at westjet.com or call your travel agent.
This is the sound of someone breaking into your business. It's that simple. And once they're in your systems, they can do real damage. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for small businesses covers everything from extortion to data theft. Our team of IT specialists will recover lost data and prevent further damage wherever possible, so you can concentrate on connections in the real world. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for the small and the brave.
If your company is considering a merger or acquisition, it's time to start thinking about how your office space will cope. Speak to Maris Interiors, the experts in office design and fit-out. Initial consultations, design ideas and budgets are provided without charge and will show you all the available options. To arrange a meeting or find out more about what we can do for you, visit officerelocation.co.uk. Maris. Workplace. Design. Experts.
InPower's asked me to search Britain for family superpowers. Meet Kenny.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Kenny. You know, with InPower's Superfix, you could fix your energy prices until the 31st of March 2021. What day is that?
That'll be a Wednesday.
Brilliant! To find out more about the Superfix, search Family Superpowers. Right, gotta go. See you in the future, Kenny. Let's say March the 15th, 2078.
That'll be a Tuesday.
Wow! You have the InPower. Terms, conditions and exclusions apply.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
With a flourish of the pen, Trump signs another presidential order putting in place temporary travel restrictions on people coming from countries that his government think could pose a threat to the United States of America. And by the way, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was part of that press conference today, and he made the point that more than 300 people who'd entered the US as refugees are under investigation right now for potential terrorism-related offences. And I remember the last time this all happened, the people were screaming blue murder. There's no evidence. Yeah, actually, there is plenty of evidence that America, just as we and Germany and others, ought to be concerned about this issue. And interestingly, when he signed the first order that was shouted down, protested about, and in the end stopped in the courts, I did sense that evening, when we had a phone in on it, there was a lot of anger, a lot of heat. I'm not getting that this time round. Is it because Trump has listened and actually what he's putting in place is perfectly reasonable? If that comment makes you really angry, then please call me on 0345 6060 973. But first, an issue that has really been a big part of my political life over the last few years. I've been talking about my worries of the formation of a European army. And it was Nick Ferrari who, of course, chaired a debate between Nick Clegg and myself on this issue in the European elections of 2014 that first really kicked this off. Remember this.
40 years ago, it was a common market. Now it's a European Union that wants an air force, an army, a navy, and wants to militarily intervene.
But this is a dangerous fantasy. The idea that there's going to be a European Air Force, a European Army, it is simply not true.
Oh, Cleggers, dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, let me just bring you up to speed, folks. The narrative that is now being put out by my friend Mr. Juncker and others is that now we've got Trump, America is going to withdraw completely from Europe, and Europe urgently needs an army, an air force and a navy. But today, it just got, in my view, a little bit worse. Because now, fearing US withdrawal, the European Union is considering its own, yes, wait for it, nuclear deterrent. And I'm not making this up. Jarosław Kaczynski, Poland's former Prime Minister, has said that they need to have a European Union nuclear programme. But perhaps even more importantly, Robert Kieswetter, who's a foreign policy spokesman with Angela Merkel's party, has said that the European Union needs to have nuclear weapons to build on the existing weapons in Great Britain and France. Now, Nick Clegg, if you're in the car or at home and listening, please ring in. Not only are we going to have an army, they want nuclear weapons. You couldn't make it up. And they're using the excuse that Trump is going to withdraw from Europe, which he is not going to do. He is committed to NATO and the defence of his friends in Europe. He just wants other European countries to pay the agreed membership fee. Right, back to, sorry, I feel really strongly about that. I almost can't believe it. It just gets worse. Back to the question, is Trump right to stick to his guns, to sign a second presidential order, to have watered down some of the conditions that the court struck down? Is he right to stick to his guns and do this? David in Wrexham, what do you think?
Hi, Nige. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can I just mention before we say that it's what you were just on about now. There was a guy on TV. He was an EU spokesman, and when they actually turned around to him and they said, "What are the options for Europe?" You know, with Britain leaving the EU, Brexit, he actually turned around and he said, "Well, we can't send an army to sort of keep them in the EU like America did with the southern states." And I did think to myself, what a strange thing to say. You know, if they had an army, I wonder if they... But anyway, moving on to the
Do you know what, David? David, that point you make is a brilliant one. And one evening very soon, we're going to discuss, I think, and have an hour's debate on, is the world going to be a safer place with an EU army, or is it more likely to provoke conflict? But not now, David. Tell me about Trump. Okay. Tell me about Trump, but is he right?
Right. Basically, the turning point for me about this restriction was when I heard a member of the FBI, an FBI spokesman, turn around and he said, "We're not making the proper checks. We're not checking everybody. And there's people coming through, and we basically don't know anything about them." And to me, it's not just about the fact that somebody could be planning to let off a bomb or they could be planning to drive a truck. I married a Kuwaiti, and to learn Arabic, I went to a mosque in Liverpool. Yeah. And what you tend to notice is there's a lot of guys there who are preaching not just kind of things to radicalise people, but they're actually preaching sort of hate against countries like Israel, which Israel, to me, is an ally, because Israel has never threatened us. You know, they're a pretty decent country. And there's a lot of things going on in the country, and we're not vetting people. And you have to ask yourself, do you want somebody like Donald Trump, who might not have the perfect answers, but he's doing something? Or do you want somebody like Merkel, who just sort of sticks her head in the sand like an ostrich and says, "Everybody come over here. Oops, I've made a mistake."
David, I get it, mate, and I've said it twice on this show so far, and I'll say it for a third time. I would feel safer living in Trump's America than Chancellor Merkel's Germany. David, I thank you for your call. Your Facebook messages coming in. Robert says, no one has a right to enter into another's country. Whilst immigration, properly controlled, is a wonderful blessing between countries, it is a privilege and not a right. And each nation can control and dictate the terms by which that privilege is extended to others. Trump has every right to continue on this path that is neither racist nor wrong. Jen says on Facebook, the last 5 presidents before Trump put the exact same ban in place, often for twice as long, up to 6 months, which is what, in fact, Obama did do a few years ago with Iraq. It is not a Muslim ban. It is a ban on people from those countries entering America because they have no checks in place at the country of origin. Second time that point's been made tonight. Leon says on Facebook, do you believe that Islam should be banned in the UK? No, Leon, I don't believe Islam should be banned in the UK, and I believe that if we get ourselves into a position where we go to war against a religion, not only will we lose, but will doom our children to an undoubtedly miserable future. We've got to get the good men and women who are practicing Islamics in this country on our side and separate out the baddies. That's the only way we're going to be able to fight this. And a tweet Needs to add Saudi Arabia, where the Twin Towers terrorists came from, says Stuart Coulsall. Stuart, a lot of people feeling that actually Trump hasn't gone far enough. And there should be other countries included on that list. I wonder what Charlotte, living in the beautiful Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire, thinks of this. Charlotte, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm very well. Is Trump right to stick to his guns and keep going?
I think so, yes. To me, I think he's done the right thing to a point. I am very disappointed, however, that he hasn't included Pakistan, which is a hotbed of terrorism and savagery, as far as I'm concerned, religiously. Yeah. And I think he should have really banned, Pakistan as well. And I totally agree with what they're saying about Saudi Arabia, because I think there are issues there, but I can understand the complexities because obviously, because they are a very rich country and they've literally sort of bought everything.
But Pakistan, Charlotte...
And everybody else. But as far as I'm concerned...
Pakistan, Charlotte, is a Commonwealth country. Are you suggesting that a Commonwealth country, that there's a serious problem with it?
Well, I mean, you've only got to look at what goes on in the country, and also you have to look at the people that are actually going to Raqqa and joining ISIS. A lot of them are, they're not specifically Pakistanis, but a lot of them are, and I think he could have at least done something. I mean, all right, if you're saying it's a Commonwealth country, and do we really want to start banning Commonwealth countries, then fine. But the thing is, there is a problem, there is an issue. He could have done something.
OK, Charlotte, you've made your point, and I will ask. Pakistan is listening to this show. If they think Charlotte's completely wrong, come and tell me why she's completely... Very interesting, though, isn't it? I'm getting caller after caller saying Trump isn't going far enough. Trump needs to extend this ban and bring in a whole load more countries. And on Twitter, Zod the God says, I'm afraid that another Liberal judge will just shoot down this executive order like the first one. I'm not so sure, Zod the God, whether that's actually true. Also on Twitter, I say we should ban all Trump voters from entering the UK until we can figure out what the hell is going on, says George. I like that. That adds a nice little twist to the overall debate. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. The time now is 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Travel bans, public vigilance, stopping radicalisation. What should Britain's approach be to preventing terror attacks?
Clive Bull on LBC.
This is a live update for UK businesses. Right now, you can find essential information and services about selling overseas through the government's website for exporters. Find the right information and help to grow your business. Visit great.gov.uk.
This is the sound of someone breaking into your business. It's that simple. And once they're in your systems, they can do real damage. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for small businesses covers everything from extortion to data theft. Our team of IT specialists will recover lost data and prevent further damage wherever possible, so you can concentrate on connections in the real world. Hiscox Cyber and Data Insurance for the small and the brave.
Are you sat behind the steering wheel of a car? Good. Don't tell me you're a driver who likes to save. Well, you could make even more savings at Confused.com. Savings on things like car insurance, tyres and petrol. In fact, they have more ways to save on your car than anyone else. It's why they're #1 for car savings. Now, are you saving that half-finished bag of crisps in the back, or are they up for grabs? Smoky bacon. Drivers win at Confused.com.
JustATrader.com.
Washing machine on the blink? No problem. Just shower your clothes on. Job done. And you'll smell like coconut cream. Or get yourself on trustatrader.com and find the right person to do the job for you. Pop in your postcode and the trade you need, then you can choose from loads of tried and tested tradespeople in your area. Reviewed, reputable, right good tradespeople. Visit trustatrader.com.
JustATrader.com.
I know what the plough looks like in the night sky. I know how Eskimos kiss. I know a time when a mullet wasn't a fish. And I definitely know this piece of music. But I don't know my state pension?
There's a simple way to find out when you can get your state pension and how much it'll be. Search Your State Pension and get to know yours.
You're the backbone of our business. Strong, reliable, plus you look great. And you're really well built.
Oh, cheers, Steve.
Not you, Terry.
The Renault Traffic with 4 years 0% APR, servicing, roadside assistance, up to 4 years warranty and 3 Watt Van Awards. Make it part of your team. Visit a Renault Pro Plus specialist dealer to find out more. Business users and participating dealers only. Minimum deposit of 20%. Renault Finance hire purchase. Register by 31st of March, subject to status. T's and C's apply. See renault.co.uk/offers.
Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag #FarageOnLBC.
Sticking to his guns, Trump signs Executive Order number 2, putting restrictions in place from people coming into America from countries they think could potentially be dangerous. And so far, most of you don't think he's gone far enough. You should have added countries like Saudi Arabia and possibly many, many others. I think Trump is right to stick to his guns, I have to say. I wonder what Nathaniel in West Norwood thinks.
Hi, Nigel. How are you doing? You're okay?
Good evening. I'm fine. And you? Now, far away, Nathaniel. What do you think?
Well, I like to pull over, okay, and take my keys out because of the new UK laws. It always make a comment about this. I am...
Well done, you.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to say to you, Nigel, I do like your approach because you are very straight to the point. But you are talking a load of old rubbish. And so are a lot of the callers that are calling in. And I'm going to explain why.
Educate us, Nathaniel.
First and foremost, okay, historically, basically, United States of America is built on the premise of immigration. There is no one there that has a divine right to be in America except for the American Indians, okay? The British and a load of other countries went there, took over their land, brought over people and enslaved them, and made the country what it was today. The UK, or the British Empire, went around the world and raped and pillaged country after country. Now, bringing it into the modern day...
Well, hang on, Nathaniel.
No, it's
hang on. Didn't we bring medicine? Didn't we bring education? Didn't we bring some good things too?
Hold on, one of the biggest industries in the UK was slavery. Am I not mistaken? I mean, I went to Liverpool and I saw the museum that was...
And Nathaniel, we abolished it and we then stopped other Western countries using the slave trade. We were the guys that actually first recognised it was morally wrong. I mean, come on. Anyway, well, listen, you and I could argue history forever, but tell me something.
Of course.
Come up to the present day. Come up to the present day.
Right. So what you've got is this, okay? What you said is rubbish, but anyway. Understand this, okay? Britain and United States have gone in and destabilised a lot of that region. Whether you like it.
No, I think you're right.
That's what they've gone in and done. Yeah, that's what they've gone and done. And then what you can't then do is don't destabilise not just countries or regions in countries, but a continent or continents. Because you've gone in and done it in you've done it in Syria, Iraq, Iran,
Libya.
Yep. The Taliban was created by the CIA, which was an American organisation to fight the Russians. The problem is that people tend to forget what's happened before to understand what's going on now. This is a comeuppance, and this is what's happened. Do you think? Look what happened in Libya. They had free education, free healthcare. We ousted Gaddafi. Yep. And now look at the situation that you've got out there. And I'm saying to you is this: okay, we have terrorism, yeah, but we are not immune to that because we have been terrorists ourselves. We need to, if we are supposed to be global leading countries, we need to be mindful enough to implement policies and strategies which help people, not to go around destabilising for our own personal gain.
Well, Nathaniel, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Given the way this call started, and with, in my view, the utter baloney you were talking about slavery, when we should be rather proud of the fact we got rid of it first and enforced it and stopped the others from doing it. Listen, whoa, down there, I completely agreed with the substantive point of your call. We have caused much of this problem. We have increased the levels of terrorism, and in many ways, Nathaniel, we have opened the doors for ISIS. And I think back to all those words that I heard from Tony Blair, whether it was over Afghanistan, whether it was over Iraq, and they were completely wrong, weren't they? They said they said the word, but Nathaniel, now we've done this, right? And I do it. I'm with you. We're guilty, But by the same token, surely we still, despite what we've done, have to be careful about who we let in.
Well, yes. First of all, again, I disagree with what you're saying, because just because you abolish something, you participate in it for so long. Have you
End the slavery bit. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right then. Okay,
Score draw, move on.
To answer your question,
Yep.
is yes. We need to be mindful and we need to be sensible about the way we enforce our borders. I agree with that entirely. However, that same prudence needs to be applied when we're going around destabilizing countries. We have no business, going into the Middle East and destabilizing them, okay, to a point where people are fleeing their own countries to come here. I'm just trying to say to you, if you want to be part of the solution, you can't be then part. If you're going to create a problem, then you've got to be part of the solution. And that's the thing that really gripes me, is that I think my final point is that people have just forgotten what
Nathaniel,
what we've done.
You've made your point brilliantly. I've loved your call. Please call again. Nathaniel from West Norwood, a man of great passion who, obeying the new law, pulled over and took his keys out of the car. I'm going to ask Malik from Manchester. Malik, is Trump right to have amended the original suspension and put it forward today in the shape that it is?
I don't know where to start, but I actually parked as well, because I'm absolutely... it's either I'm a fool or an idiot to stop and actually listen to this program, because I knew I'd get angry.
Right.
And I think I've just calmed down a bit now.
All right. Sorry, Malik, why were you convinced that you'd get angry? Tell me.
Well, I'm angry because it's a complete... Like the guy in the European Parliament, and he said you're a liar, and he is. So if you are ready, and you talk about political correctness, be courageous, Nigel, and listen.
I'm going to listen, Malik. I mean, I'm all ears, mate. Far away.
What is it you gaining from attacking Islam and Muslims week in, week out? How dare you? Last 2 weeks you mentioned about the reformation of Islam. What do you know about my religion to even say that? How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Okay,
you invaded our countries. You've given our land, Israel. You gave it to white Europeans. You've taken two American continents with 70 million dead over 200 years. New Zealand, Australia. You created Gaddafi, Saudi kings. You created Saddam Hussein. You created Al Qaeda. You created ISIS. What else do you want?
Malik, Malik, hang on. Whoa. Now, listen, I may have done some bad things in my life, but I don't think I'm personally responsible for everything that's happened over the course of the last 4 centuries. Let me ask you a quick question. Yeah, we have talked about problems within the religion of Islam. I've always, Malik, made it clear I am not your opponent, but would you not agree with me that there are, within some sections of your religion, a problem?
Come on, tell me what you know about Islam. Tell me, come on, tell me what's the problem.
Well, what I know...
No, go on.
What I know...
Go on.
Oh, you don't want to listen. What I know is that the later parts of the Quran are perhaps unpleasant in a way that many would say the earlier parts of the Bible, perhaps in the modern world, create a problem. And it's all about interpretation.
I challenge you, there are 100% more violent terms in the Bible than there are in the Quran. I'll give you an example. Tell me one instance in history where a conqueror entered a city and let everyone free. Tell me. Give me an example.
Malik,
go on.
Malik, if we're going to have a theological debate, and there isn't time now, you're quite right. Hang on. There are earlier parts of the Bible that many today in the 21st century would object to, but very little that anyone would object to that appears in the New Testament. And with the Quran, it is somewhat the other way round, and this is about interpretation. Malik, I just want to say this to you. I am not against your religion in any way at all. I'm against extremists in your religion that make your life in this country considerably more difficult. And Malik, surely, would it not be sensible for countries like America and Britain to do their utmost to stop terrorists coming in?
Yeah, tell me, who's created them?
Well, Malik, I cannot, and I do take your point, and the previous caller, Nathaniel, made a similar point. I was against the Iraq war. I was against the Libyan war, for goodness sake. It isn't all my fault. Not all of it.
It's the other dark forces, and you're just a pawn in their game. I tell you who's the evil of this. It's the distraction, which is Israel, created all these ISIS and the rest of them.
Well,
and if you tell me now,
Malik, I think we are heading into prejudicial territory here because, when I hear people objecting to the very existence of Israel, I begin to ask myself where religious tolerance begins and where it ends. The last texts and tweets, Trump is 100% right. He is the president and knows what's best for the USA with the intelligence he receives, and that's what Sy says. And the thought of the EU elite having an army as well as nuclear weapons literally fills me with dread. The UK needs to get out ASAP, says Seamus. Prime Minister May, are you listening? We don't want to be in a nuclear European Union. My final thought on all of this is that President Trump, and I've said this before, he is a man, whether you like him or not, of immense moral courage. He believes he was elected on a ticket, and he will do his utmost to put that into policy. His first attempt at a travel restriction was turned down by the US courts and led to violent protests in America and on the streets of this country. He has learnt from that. He has put this in place. What's not to like? Who could possibly object? I think there'll be very few protests over what he's done today. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow evening from 7. Coming up at 10, it's Ian Collins, but up next, it's Clive Bull.
Thank you, Nigel. So there are currently 500 live investigations into terrorism in the UK. 13 plots have been foiled since 2013. The police are stressing the importance of